Welcome, dear listeners, to our exploration of the vast expanse of human history. Today, we find ourselves in the midst of a most tumultuous and fascinating era, the Spanish Civil War. As we embark on this journey, let us first set the stage with an overview of this pivotal conflict. The Spanish Civil War was a struggle that ravaged the Iberian Peninsula from 1936 to 1939, pitting the nationalist forces led by General Francisco Franco against the Republican government and its supporters. This clash would become a precursor to the Second World War, drawing in powers from across Europe and beyond. As we delve into the earliest history of this conflict, we find ourselves in the early 20th century, a time of great upheaval in Spain. The country was still reeling from the loss of its colonies in the Spanish-American War of 1898, which had left it economically drained and politically unstable. By the 1930s, the deep-seated divisions within Spanish society, between monarchists and republicans, Catholics and secularists, capitalists and socialists, had reached a boiling point. The assassination of Prime Minister Eduardo Dato in 1921 by anarchist gunmen and the subsequent dictatorship of General Miguel Primo de Rivera from 1923 to 1930 only served to further polarize the nation. In 1931, King Alfonso XIII abandoned the throne and Spain became a republic, with Manuel Azaña as its first prime minister. However, the new government faced significant challenges, including a stagnant economy, a powerful and conservative Catholic Church, and a growing anarchist movement. The elections of 1936 brought to power the Popular Front, a coalition of left-wing parties that aimed to implement radical social and economic reforms. This development was met with fierce resistance from the right, who saw the new government as a threat to traditional Spanish values and the established order. As tensions escalated, military leaders, including General Francisco Franco, began secretly planning an uprising against the Republican government. The spark that ignited the conflict came on July 17, 1936, when nationalist forces rose up in Melilla, a Spanish outpost in North Africa. The rebellion quickly spread to the mainland, with key cities such as Seville and Burgos falling to the insurgents. The war had begun, pitting brother against brother and friend against friend in a struggle that would leave deep scars on the nation. And so, dear listeners, we have set the stage for our exploration of the Spanish Civil War. Having examined the precursors and origins of this conflict, we now find ourselves poised on the threshold of its most pivotal moments. Join me, then, as we embark on this journey into the very heart of the Spanish Civil War. Welcome back to our exploration of the Spanish Civil War. As we transition from the origins of this conflict, we now find ourselves immersed in the midst of its most pivotal moments. The war had begun, with nationalist forces, led by General Francisco Franco, clashing against the Republican government and its supporters. This period, spanning from 1936 to 1939, was marked by intense fighting, brutal atrocities, and significant international involvement. As we delve into the heart of the war, we find ourselves in the besieged city of Madrid, where Republican forces, led by General José Miaja, were determined to defend their capital against the advancing nationalist army. The streets of Madrid became a battleground, with snipers, artillery fire, and aerial bombardments wreaking havoc on the civilian population. The city's iconic landmarks, such as the Plaza Mayor and the Prado Museum, were reduced to rubble, while its inhabitants struggled to survive amidst the chaos. One of the most infamous events of this period was the bombing of Guernica, a small town in the Basque region of northern Spain. On April 26, 1937, German and Italian warplanes, allied with the nationalists, descended upon the town, dropping incendiary bombs and wreaking destruction on its civilian population. The attack, which killed hundreds of innocent people, was a stark example of the brutality and indiscriminate violence that characterized this conflict. As the Spanish poet Pablo Neruda once said, "Guernica is a cry of horror, a warning to all humanity." As the war raged on, key players emerged, shaping the course of events with their decisions and actions. General Francisco Franco, the nationalist leader, proved to be a cunning and ruthless strategist, determined to crush his opponents and impose his vision on Spain. On the Republican side, figures like Manuel Azaña, the President of the Republic, and Buenaventura Durruti, the anarchist leader, fought valiantly against overwhelming odds. The international community was not immune to the conflict's reverberations. The Spanish Civil War became a proxy war, with Fascist Italy and Nazi Germany supporting the nationalists, while the Soviet Union backed the Republicans. This ideological struggle drew in volunteers from around the world, including the famous international brigades, which fought on behalf of the Republic. As we navigate this complex and tumultuous period, we witness the emergence of iconic locations, such as the Ebro River, where Republican forces launched a desperate counterattack against the nationalists, and the city of Barcelona, which became a hotbed of anarchist and socialist activism. We also encounter notable figures like Dolores Ibarruri, the charismatic communist leader known as La Pasionaria, who rallied the masses with her impassioned oratory. The nationalists, having gained the upper hand, were poised to deliver the final blow to the Republic. The stage was set for the war's denouement, which would have far-reaching consequences for Spain and the world. Join me next as we explore the decline and aftermath of the Spanish Civil War and examine its lasting legacy on modern history. Welcome back to our exploration of the Spanish Civil War. As we transition from the war's most pivotal moments, we now find ourselves immersed in the aftermath of this devastating conflict. The nationalists, led by General Francisco Franco, had emerged victorious, and on April 1, 1939, they declared the war officially over. The Republic, which had fought valiantly against overwhelming odds, was no more. As we delve into the decline and aftermath of the Spanish Civil War, we find ourselves in a Spain ravaged by destruction and divided by ideology. The nationalists, having consolidated their power, began to impose their vision on the country. Franco, now the undisputed leader of Spain, established a dictatorship that would last for nearly 4 decades. His regime was marked by repression, censorship, and brutality, with tens of thousands of Republicans and leftists imprisoned, executed, or forced into exile. One of the most notable consequences of the war was the establishment of a fascist-like state in Spain. Franco's regime was characterized by a strict authoritarianism, with all opposition parties banned and a single party, the Falange, holding sway over the government. The Catholic Church, which had supported the nationalists during the war, was given a prominent role in Spanish society, and the country's education system was revamped to promote nationalist and fascist ideologies. As we explore the aftermath of the war, we also encounter the stories of those who suffered under Franco's rule. The Republicans, who had fought for democracy and freedom, were forced to flee their homes or face persecution. Many went into exile, settling in countries such as Mexico, France, and the Soviet Union. Others, like the poet Pablo Neruda, continued to speak out against fascism and oppression, inspiring future generations to resist authoritarianism. The international community was also affected by the outcome of the Spanish Civil War. The conflict had served as a testing ground for the fascist powers of Europe, particularly Nazi Germany and Italy. The war had shown that these powers were willing to use brutal force to achieve their objectives, and it set a disturbing precedent for the atrocities that would follow in World War II. As we examine the legacy of the Spanish Civil War, we find that its impact extends far beyond Spain's borders. The conflict served as a catalyst for the Second World War, with many of the same ideologies and alliances that shaped the Spanish War playing out on a global stage. The war also inspired a generation of intellectuals and artists who saw it as a symbol of resistance against oppression and a beacon of hope for democracy and freedom. Today, we can visit the city of Madrid and see the remnants of the war's devastation. The streets of the city are still scarred by the bombings and artillery fire that ravaged its buildings and infrastructure. However, We can also see the signs of a country that has come to terms with its past and is working towards reconciliation. The Valley of the Fallen, a monument built by Franco to commemorate the war's dead, now serves as a symbol of Spain's complex and troubled history. In the heart of Madrid, there is a small square called the Plaza de la Villa de Paris, where a memorial commemorates the victims of the war. Nearby, we can find the Museo Reina Sofia, which houses Pablo Picasso's iconic painting, Guernica, a powerful anti-war statement that continues to inspire and haunt us to this day. As we walk through these streets and visit these landmarks, we are reminded of the enduring legacy of the Spanish Civil War and its continued relevance in our modern world. As we conclude our exploration of the decline and aftermath of the Spanish Civil War, we are left with a profound sense of the conflict's significance and its lasting impact on modern history. The war serves as a reminder of the dangers of authoritarianism, nationalism, and fascism, and it inspires us to continue fighting for democracy, freedom, and human rights. Join me next as we reflect on the broader implications of this conflict and its continued relevance in our world today. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.